What was it? Did he just leave or did he flee? What do we know?
Our sources are a little bit unclear on that. We have two sources confirming that he has left Japan and that he is in Beirut and left early this week. What we don't know is whether he officially fled. It certainly looks that way, and that's what one of our sources is telling us. There's a lot to still sort of suss out of what's happening here. I think, when I go back to my desk, I'll be brushing up on Lebanese extradition laws because, there's a lot to be said about, why and how he was able to pull this off. He was obviously a hugely prominent figure in Japan, so his ability to sort of escape the country and do so in a way when, he was under a lot of surveillance and was being followed very closely is kind of a shock. It's almost as surprising as how this whole event came to be about 13 months ago.
Craig, is there an expectation that we might be hearing from Carlos Ghosn in the near future?
We are also expecting a statement from the Ghosn camp. What we've been told is that he was not expecting to get a fair trial in Japan, and obviously that's consistent with what we've been hearing for months out of his camp. He has had an army of people around the world in Japan, in France, where Renault is based and where he spent a lot of his professional life. Obviously, Lebanon, he's of Lebanese descent. Even folks in Washington sort of putting his message out there and sort of batting back these charges that had been brought in Japan. And by the SEC, we should note as well, that has claimed that he and Nissan violated disclosure rules related to his compensation. He's denied those charges, and the conviction rate in Japan is incredibly high, so it's obviously that sort of goes without saying why he would have wanted to get out of Japan, and if he's going to face these charges, would want to face them elsewhere.
More than 99% of those indicted in Japan get convicted, right? So Nissan has seen pretty turbulent times since Ghosn was forced to leave. What do we know about where they stand at the moment?
Well, part of what Ghosn has said in his defense is that the whole reason for this is that there's been a sort of conspiracy against him on the part of folks in Japan who have said that, basically he was trying to combine these two companies. There was a lot of national pride within Nissan and within the Japanese government that was against that idea. And so, there is still a huge sort of debate and tension within that alliance of Renault and Nissan over the future of the two companies, whether they combine, whether they join forces. It's definitely a case where the idea of them separating is sort of an unthinkable move at this point. But there's an awful lot of tension between these two companies, and they're no longer sort of able to dispute that. This was long a story of tensions that were sort of bubbling beneath the surface that Ghosn sort of downplayed and managed around for years. And it's now very much above the surface that these two companies are not getting along.